Okay, somebody asked me to make a analysis of the writings and position of a Padmanabha Swami. Now, first of all, we have to explain that there are more than a few Padmanabha Swamis floating around, and the one we are talking about is, I believe, from South America, and he is Swami B.P. Padmanabha Swami, or Bhakti Pranaya Padmanabha Swami. And I think originally he was a follower of Paramadvaiti Swami, and then he switched over to Tripurari Swami, and now he has this kind of a nebulous position. We don't know exactly what line he is following, but somebody told me that he was following the Bhaktivinoda Thakur line right now, which is, again, very nebulous because it doesn't really connect us to his current authority, if he has any. But anyway, if you read his introduction to himself, his autobiography, he just says he was studying Krishna Bhakti under various mentors. So he doesn't really tell us who these mentors are. And he's fluent in English and Spanish, and he has written hundreds of articles in both languages. For the past 20 years, he has traveled around the world and lectured in universities, ashramas, and yoga studios. Most of his numerous talks and seminars are available online. As a leader of spiritual retreats and communities, he inspires both practitioners and visitors with his penetrating teachings and personal example. And he has tried to make some kind of a bridge program to connect all the different, let's say, bhakti groups together, something like that. And we'll discuss that a little later on. But first of all, I wanted to say that originally he was following Paramadvaiti Swami. So I think he got a lot of his original ideas about Bhakti Yoga from Paramadvaiti Swami. And in the year 2011, Padmanabha Swami was listing Paramadvaiti Swami as his guru. Now, Paramadvaiti Swami was the promoter of Sridhara Maharaj, who was a big cheerleader of the 11 GBC gurus of ISKCON in 1978. And more importantly, Sridhar Maharaj said none should protest the 11 GBC gurus, which made it very difficult, or near impossible, or actually very dangerous for us, the dissenters. We had a very hard time complaining about the, let's say, bad activities of the GBC gurus. And by calling us more or less the rabble-rousing, fringe complainers and all the rest of it, that made us targets for retribution. So if we complained, we could be banned, we could be removed, we could be in a lot of trouble, and that's actually what happened to me. I complained, and 4 of the GBC gurus confronted me, and they showed me the writings of Sridhar Maharaj, a discussion they had had with Sridhar Maharaj, where he said none should protest. So I was already out of the, let's say, good favor of Sridhar Maharaj. But I really don't see how Sridhar Maharaj is authorized to tell me, I'm a disciple of Prabhupada, if I don't think some clowns and idiots and drug addicts should be sitting in Prabhupada's seat. That should be my business. It's not, why is that his business? I don't think he has the authority to challenge anything I'm doing. I'm in my own mission. I'm in Prabhupada's mission. I'm not in his mission. Why does he believe he has the authority to overstep what I'm doing? And not only that, but put me in a lot of danger. He put me in a lot of danger when I was kicked out. Jayatirath said, watch your back, which means, things could get violent. And they did get violent. Our friends were beaten up and assassinated, and so many things happened because none should protest. And Sridhar made a lot of other, very foolish statements. For example, he said, how will these GBC gurus become, worship as good as God? How will that happen? And he said, no problem. You wear the uniform, and the uniform will show you what to do. Really? That sounds like total insanity. I mean, there's people in the madhouse who dress like Jesus, and they think they're Jesus because they dress like Jesus. That's not the system. You don't just dress like an airline pilot and take over the airline, job of a pilot. It's not how it works. So it's just insane things that he was advising the GBC, and they were making GBC reports based on his advice and statements that he was giving them. And so Paramadvaiti was part of that group, or he became part of that group. He surrendered to Sridhara Maharaj and accepted Sridhara Maharaj as his authority. And then he began to repeat these different things that Sridhara Maharaj was saying. Now, another thing Sridhara Maharaj said was, later on he began to find out there was trouble, going on with these gurus that he was rubber stamping and authorizing. And he just said, well, if they weren't really appointed as gurus, never mind, they'll just dig their own graves. Don't worry about it. Well, wait a minute. You put a captain in charge of an ocean liner. There's 5,000 passengers on the ocean liner. And then you just say, well, if the captain drives the ship onto the rocks and all the 5,000 people on the ship drown, so what? Who cares? Let them all drown. Well, what? That's also insane. You can't just do that. Now, later on, Paramadvaiti Swami himself was falling down with various ladies from his group. And evidently, he was having illicit affairs. There are some, websites and complaints about that. And there's also a complaint, evidently, from one of the mothers that Paramadvaiti was holding her daughter, very young daughter, 5, 6 years old maybe, on his lap, and the daughter didn't have any clothes on, and the daughter was filmed on his lap or something like that. I don't really know the details of that, but let's suffice it to say there was numerous complaints about Paramadvaiti having lusty activities going on. And so, same thing. He was wearing the uniform of a Swami and a sadhu and all the rest of it, but he wasn't behaving like a sadhu and a Swami. So, just wearing the uniform idea, it doesn't work. It has really never worked. You can't just dress up somebody as a sadhu, and that's going to make him a sadhu. And Mike Myers made a movie about that. I think it was called The Guru or something like that. But anyway, he dresses up like a sadhu and doesn't behave like a sadhu. So anyway, to make a long story short, this was Padmanabha's original, foundation. He got started out with this guy, this Paramadvaiti guy. And Paramadvaiti was misdirecting people and giving people many major misunderstandings of Bhakti Yoga and what is Krishna consciousness. Because Sridhara Maharaj was giving people all kinds of bad ideas. And this filtered into Padmanabha, I think obviously, because, for example, he still thinks that the jiva, the souls, do not originate with Krishna. And he says that Bhakti is not inherent within the soul because the soul is not originally Krishna conscious. Well, that was what Sridhara Maharaj was preaching. And when we were in India, the Godbrothers were complaining about Prabhupada's Back to Godhead magazine title. So some people came to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, your Godbrothers are complaining about Back to Godhead. And he said, yes, my Godbrothers don't know that we were originally with Krishna because they are tinged with Mayavada. So the idea that we were never with Krishna and we don't have Bhakti as our original state, this is Mayavada, and this Padmanabha person still holds these ideas, these Mayavada ideas. And his book has been recommended by Pranaya Dasi, and Pranaya is very friendly with the GBC Guru program. In fact, she's very friendly with Jayapataka Swami in particular. Jayapataka is the leader of Mayapur. Mayapur is the, let's say, headquarters of the child abuse program going on in ISKCON. And to get a recommendation of Jayapataka is like what some of the victims have said is Auschwitz for children, a kind of a concentration camp for children. So why is Pranada getting a recommendation from Jayapataka, and why is Padmanabha Swami asking Pranada to give a foreword to his book? So all these things are connected, in my opinion. Sridhara Maharaj was a big supporter of the whole GBC Guru system at the beginning. Paramadvaiti went on supporting it for years and years and years, even up until 1986. Sridhara Maharaj was telling Hansaduta to stay in the Guru seat. Hansaduta said he was taking drugs, having sex, he was having all these problems. And Sridhara Maharaj says, there's only one thing you can do. You have to go back and sit in your Vyasa seat and be worshipped as good as God. So this is the problem we've had with these guys. These gurus are deviating, they're having affairs, and they're creating a whole bunch of child molesting webs and nests and problems. But who cares? Let everybody dig their grave and go into the grave and just die. Well, that's fine, but there's karma for that. If you cause other people to go into the grave and suffer, then you get karma for enabling that, allowing that, creating that. So there's karma to be had for all of the people responsible for this situation, and Sridhar Maharaj is very responsible, and Paramadvaiti is very responsible. He is himself having affairs with followers. Evidently, supposedly, there's allegations that he was having affairs with the minors, or at least he was inappropriately handling minors, let's say. But anyway, he is a fraud. That's all. And that's why Padmanabha doesn't really list his guru process. He just says, I've had mentors over the years. Mentor who? Who is your mentor? And Tripurari was one of the mentors. Now, Tripurari is another big fan of Sridhar Maharaj, big supporter of Sridhar, and he circulates Sridhar's books, and he believes that Sridhar is correct. We originate in the Brahman. We originate in the Brahmajyoti, and Tripurari asked one of my friends, are you a Brahmajyoti devotee? Which is, okay. So the souls originate in the Brahman, which is not our philosophy, which Prabhupada condemns many, many times. Anyone who thinks we originated in Brahmajyoti, which is the impersonal aspect of God. It's the effulgence from the spiritual world. There's a spiritual effulgence, which is like a bright light, and your soul merges into the bright light, but there's no activity there. You're not serving Krishna there. You're not chanting the glories of God there. You're just merged in there, just sitting there. Basically, there's a dead life there. There's no real activity going on. So that is not our origin. That's not our original state. And Thakur Bhaktivinoda has said being in the Brahmajyoti is worse than being in hell, because in hell you might hear about God. It's possible. But in Brahman, you never hear about God. So it's better to be in hell, where at least you have possibility of hearing about God, whereas in Brahman, you never hear about God. Now, Prabhupada says we have gone to Brahmajyoti many times. We have merged into Brahman. We were in the material world, suffering and struggling. We got frustrated, so we performed the yoga that makes a person merge into Brahman. We went to Brahman. We stayed there for many years, maybe millions of years. But we came back to here. So Prabhupada says, because you were in Brahman a number of times, you may think that is your origin. But actually before that, you were with Krishna. So it's very important that we need to understand our original state. What is our original state? Now, the idea of Sridhara Maharaj is very similar to the Christians. The Christian idea, the Christians say some angels start with God, and some less fortunate souls, namely us, poor schlubs, we do not start with God. We're condemned. So God has blessed children and condemned children right from their original state, which doesn't even make sense, because an ordinary father, just like I'm an ordinary father, I would not put one of my children into a blessed condition and put one of my children into a condemned position. Why would I do that? So God is equal. God is more equal than me. I'm equal. I'm somewhat equal. And I'm just a conditioned soul who has no good qualities. So God, he has all good qualities. Therefore, he's equal to all of his children. He doesn't start out some children in a heavenly situation and some children in a hellish situation. That's not equal. Even materially, that's not equal. So that is not how God operates. It's a misunderstanding of God. And Prabhupada says that the impersonalists are envious of God. They're envious, and they're tinged with Mayavada. They're tinged with this envy. So they just can't admit that you are causing your own failure. You failed. You were not serving God. You were kicked out of the kingdom. It's your fault that you're here. But the Mayavadis, they like to say, no, God was the problem. God did not start you with him. So he created this whole problem that you were not with him. You had the potential to fall, so you fell because, God is not equal. So God is to blame for you falling. God forgot something important. He forgot to put you where every other angel was already going on. He put you somewhere else. So this is a big problem with these, I would say, Mayavadis, or somewhat Christian idea. At least the Christians say you just started here. You weren't suffering for millions of lifetimes previously. You just started out suffering all of a sudden in this particular life. You only have one life. This is it. But you did not start with God. Okay? That's the Christian idea. So that's why I never liked Sridhara Maharaj's idea. When Sridhara Maharaj says we do not start with God, I thought, wow, this is just a Christian church all over again. So anyway, we wanted to make this so that Padmanabha could benefit and his followers could benefit. We wanted to explain some of this stuff. You got to get away from Sridhara Maharaj. You got to get away from wear the uniform. And when wearing the uniform fails and you dig your grave, go ahead, dig your grave, and bring in thousands and thousands of children into your grave with you. What is that? That's horrible. So everybody knows that. No normal person thinks you should put some guy who's digging his grave in charge of thousands of children. That is not a good idea. That is going to cause trouble for those children, without a doubt. Everybody knows that. It's common sense. So it's just madness to think these are good ideas. They're not good ideas. So dig your grave, wear the uniform. Acharyas go mad after money, women, and followers. It's common that acharyas are deviating. This is what Sridhara is preaching, was preaching, and you can readily find his quotes and citations online. Or in the book Sri Guru and His Grace, where he says, acharyas go mad after money, women, and followers. And you can find where he says, we originate in the Brahman, in the Brahmajyoti. which is false, which is Mayavadi, which Prabhupada disagreed with, which Prabhupada says is tinged with Mayavadi. So I think Padmanabha knows he's got lots of problems with his mentors, quote unquote. And that's why he's just saying, I have mentors. Yeah, we don't want to tell who the mentors are, because then we're going to have to explain what Paramadvaiti has been doing, what Tripurari has been doing. And he got into some kind of a disagreement with Tripurari's female secretary, whatever she is, and he didn't see that this is a red flag. I mean, even the Anderson Valley newspaper wrote an article about Tripurari saying he's always driving around with this girl in his car. This is Vrindaranya. Why is he a sannyasi hanging out with a female? And according to Padmanabha, he's been hanging around with this female for 30 years. So that's not good. That's a red flag. So before you accept him as your guru, you should start asking him this question. Why is my guru hanging out with a woman for 30 years? And why is this woman arguing with me? You know, it's just ridiculous, the whole thing. So these people are not mentors. They're misleading people, and they're causing lots of problems. So anyway, somehow or other, he's in the orbit of Krishna, which is, we got to give some credit to Paramadvaiti and Tripurari and all these mentors. They did some service in the sense that they brought people at least a certain part of the way, to Krishna. And now those people, a number of those people are coming to me, to Pod, my program, and saying, wait a minute, I was with this program and this mentor and that mentor, and it doesn't seem like they directed me properly. What is your idea? And then I tell them, well, my idea is we should worship the Acharya. And they say, oh, okay, that's a good idea. Maybe I should go over to your idea and switch camps and get away from those guys. So that is happening more and more. Anyway, I wish this guy well. I hope he, makes progress. It looks like he's got a little bit of sincerity. And if he does, he will, he'll come up with a good explanation for all this stuff, if there is any. And if not, he'll just agree that his ideas are defeated. He doesn't have a good standing. He can't just say, I have mentors. That's not the Vaishnava system. He has to identify his line and identify his system. And I'm saying he should identify his system as Prabhupada, and he should just promote Prabhupada. That's the good conclusion, in my opinion. Haribol, I hope this helps. Jai, all glories to Prabhupada.